Okay, so once we get our data table, what I need to do is take the variables and I need to write them. We take each of the data and then I write them out to variables so I can use them throughout the system or throughout this workflow, if you will. So the first thing I do is I have a variable called save ID. So if I go look at it, remember I told you these variables are very important. So if I go and look for, oh, here it is, save ID. It's a string. So what I need to do is take this variable, which is my first one, and I need to write it to a string. I have another variable called date and time. Notice it's just date, time, now, toString. Now these variables are just Visual Basic. Okay, so I have a source table and I have a source column, and I need to go back and actually fix my query to where that's not hard-coded. But they're down there as well, and then just for sake of logging, I like to write that to a file. Okay, so if I look at pinned, we click on this, and if I look at what I'm writing to a file, if you notice I'm just passing in the variables. Again, this is just Visual Basic, so therefore I can use environment new line to create a new line. All right, if you don't know VB, I'm sure someone on Google can help you. But let's go back to the parent because that's our for loop, so we keep going through the for loop. Very importantly, did I miss it? Yep. Let's see if it's in here. We need to make no, I'm sorry, it's here. We need to make sure that when we loop through this, oh, I'll get to that in a second. So the next step is I need to make sure that the ID isn't already in the stage, okay? Because we can't have duplicate IDs in our staging table as well, because then it totally beats purpose, right? So here I do a count, and then I return the count. And because I return it as a data set, I'm going to loop through it again. But now I have a value called save flag, save true or save false, right? So if my count is 0, then save true, which means I can save it, okay? If my count isn't 0, then set that flag to false, okay? That's, if you've ever done logic, that's pretty common sense. Save flag, which is here, it's a Boolean. So that's where that comes in at. And then if you notice, what I do is once it loops to that, the only thing it's going to do is loop through it and set that, and then write it out to a log. But then what I do is I say, okay, if the ID, if that saved ID is set to false, then go up and get another one. Okay, and then just keep getting an ID. And that's why, even though I said give me 10 or give me 25, I will still always have 25 because that's inside of that loop. So now what happens is it goes down and saves. Pretty common sense. So here I'm hitting the SQL, and if you look at my ID that I'm actually writing it out to, it's an insert into, and this is just basic SQL stuff here. I'm passing in my values. Now I am setting this to false. We'll talk about that in a minute when we talk about the other workflow. But basically I'm inserting all this into my staging table. Okay, so I've got the date, well I got the ID, the date, the source, the column, the source, the table, no I'm sorry, the table, the column, and then used, which we'll talk about that in a minute, is set to false. Okay, and then very importantly, how that works is, like I said, this is basic Oracle stuff here. So let's just, all right, I kind of jumped through it, but we probably should look at it at least. If you notice, these are set to parameters like normal, like you would SQL, okay? So it's just an insert statement. So the question is, how do you get these parameters in there? The parameters themselves are set by going to add parameters. If here I have a parameter name, ID, and then notice I set it my values. For an example, this insert data, I'm parsing this as a date, right? My source table, these are the values that you get from down here. These parameters are what I have in my parameter list. Now you don't put the @ sign here because, you know, that's just part of SQL. That's actually inside the statement, not the parameter itself. So that's how you get that insert to work. Once it's inserted, we'll move back out and we'll sign our loop -1. Okay, or save -1. So if I had 25, once it saves it, now it should be at 24. And then again, just good habit, I log the activity. And that's how it loops through it. So what we're going to do is I'm actually going to set the counter a little bit slower. Instead of 25, the saved loop counter. And I'm probably going to make it, let's just do 10. Because I like to run it. Now, it doesn't take long to run, but this is just for video purposes, right? Oh, once it loops through, it goes done. It's just kind of done at that point. So let's go ahead and, I haven't tested this in a couple of days, so it may air it out on me, but it's okay. We'll work on it. So let's go. Here's my logging. As I can see, it executed. So it's running through the 10. All right, so now it's complete. So if I look through here, I can see the countdown, I can see the ID, and this is just the one, right? So this will tell you everything you need to know. Inserted the value, so let's go look. So if I go here, I have 30 records. Let's execute. Now I have 40, so that obviously worked. So what this gave me was a set of IDs that are not in my Oracle staging table. So that is pretty much it for how this workflow works. Now, with saying that, this workflow should run whenever you want to. Now, there's two options. I can run it again, and I can empty out this table. You know, why don't we do that? That would be kind of fun. So let's run this again. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to set clear stage to true. Okay. All right, go. Now remember, we still have 10, so I should expect to see only 10. All right, patience. And another thing too is I should have shown you is you can run it in debug mode, and then it will show you each one of the, notice it's hitting yellow. It's because it's going through it really fast. But if you run debug, it'll walk you through each one and show you the values. I kind of don't want to do that on this video just because it is a little time consuming. So now I have 10. Okay. So the idea is every time it will get 10 new ones. And what that means is it's going to go to the Oracle database, and if the ID is already used, then it's not going to grab it, right? So if I was to publish all 10 of these and use them, then the next time I run that Javelin, it won't grab these 10 because they're already used. Now, I'm going to stop this video just to keep them separate, and I'll create another one about the next flow, but the next flow kind of goes with this one.